So will Elon fail? Maybe, but if someone can succeed at starting a third party successfully, it's going to be Elon, I think. And I think from a Tesla investor perspective, would I prefer Elon to stay out of politics? Probably, but I know that's not what Elon is, right? I've long accepted that Elon's just going to do whatever he thinks is right, and often that means stepping into things that I would disagree with, but that's sort of what sets us apart, right?
Welcome to the Gigacast. My name is Gav, here today with Omar and Sawyer, and there's a new party in town, and her name is the America Party. We're going to dive into everything that Elon Musk is shooting into the world of politics. Before we get started with that, we love how many of you are watching our videos here on YouTube. Go ahead, if you haven't yet, smash that subscribe button. Almost at 6,000 subs here. Let's keep things rolling. Now let's get into the good stuff, because there is a whole lot to discuss here, and we're going to cover much more, including the end of the federal EV credit and so many more pieces that apply to Tesla and Robotaxi. But we really do have to start here with this political side, because this was kind of a bombshell that happened since we last recorded. Kicking it off to you guys over here, Omar, would love to hear your initial thoughts as you saw this coming out. There's a lot of mixed opinions. We've gotten responses from Trump, further responses from Elon, et cetera, et cetera. What are you seeing?
Look, Elon and Trump were always kind of strange bedfellows. When they were first buddy, yeah, they seemed to get along for a while, but there was always some major areas of misalignment. For example, their positions on energy, clean energy versus fossil fuels. So I don't think it was necessarily that great of a situation for Tesla, being aligned with everything the administration did. You've got immigration, you've got this trade war. Elon definitely disagreed on tariffs. He disagrees on energy policy. You look at, this Epstein file fiasco. I don't think it's necessarily good for Elon to be aligned with the Trump administration on everything. At the same time, as much as a lot of Tesla fans are frustrated and say, look, can we go back to the time before there was so much politics involved in this company? It's kind of unavoidable. You look at this bill, you look at the $7,500 tax credit going away, you look at the solar credits going away, you look back even to 2020 with the COVID shutdowns, and Tesla's become big enough and Elon has become big enough that they are political issues themselves. So there's a lot of emotion. Everybody's kind of jumping to some worst case scenario where the government tries to shut down Tesla. But I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm just focused as usual on the opportunity with real world AI. And I think investors who focus on that as opposed to the drama of the week will do well.
Yeah. Do you guys, maybe just a quick follow-up for you, Omar, before I go over to you, Sawyer. Ultimately, we talk about how a CEO's number one objective is to create shareholder value, right? But Elon's a little bit unique in this area. We don't often see him doing kind of the accepted thing. Do you think that there is a part in his mind that says, hey, me creating this party is going to enhance shareholder value, or it's just, hey, these are my morals and ethics and I got to stick by them?
I think the reason most companies suck is they're always worried about the next quarter. What can I do to make the stock go up? And there's very little actual creation of shareholder value, the long-term technology that actually drives share price growth. I think Elon is really the right person to bring Tesla into an autonomous future. If we wanted to hire some Harvard Business School CEO who says the right thing and kisses the president's ass and doesn't piss anyone off, we can fire Elon and we can hire that guy easily. But then we won't win autonomy. That's really why we have Elon as CEO, or why I support him as CEO of Tesla.
Got it. Sawyer, you also broke some news around this. You were posting different pieces. I believe you may have gotten some Elon comments as well. Curious what you're thinking.
Yeah, oops, sorry, window closed. When I saw Elon sort of float the idea that he might want to start a party, I was like, this is happening. Like, once he sort of gets an idea in his mind, especially when everyone said, don't do it, Elon, don't do it. That just makes him want to do things more, right? Yeah, my thoughts is I think Elon has always been guided by what he views as the most important thing to sort of save or help humanity at the time. And that shifts almost every year, it seems like. And one year it's like AI with XAI, and then another year it's like humanoid robots or autonomous driving or politics. Well, it was more so last year. And this year, I think he shifted away from Doge back into his companies and was like, I got to focus on increasing GDP with, Optimus robots, Tesla, and AI and all that. And then I think he started to think maybe there's a path for a third party here. And I think he's sort of started to see some Trump support wane a little bit. And he was like, maybe there's I think he saw some other sort of middle, maybe slightly right Republican people in Congress saying, sort of wanting the same thing. And then maybe they'll Elon will bring them onto the American Party. But in general, like it's still like super early innings right now. We don't really know how this is going to play out. We don't know what the impact is going to be. On one hand, he's probably going to piss off Democrats and Republicans sort of equally, but that might be okay actually in a way, because like I said last time, politics is sort of like a religion, and I think there's going to be a lot of support for a party in the middle. Midterm elections just in general are less contentious, and not that many Americans even vote in the midterms, to be honest. So I'm not even sure that many will pay attention. But this Elon said he's not going to support a presidential candidate yet. It's too early for that. They're just going to focus on the midterms, and the midterms are a year and a half away at this point. So will Elon fail? Maybe, but if someone can succeed at starting a third party successfully, it's going to be Elon, I think. And I think from a Tesla investor perspective, would I prefer Elon to stay out of politics? Probably, but I know that's not what Elon is, right? I've long accepted that Elon's just going to do whatever he thinks is right, and often that means stepping into things that I would disagree with. But that's sort of what sets us apart, right? Last thing is, Elon has sort of been working for free at Tesla for years now because of this 2018 compensation package lawsuit case thing. And I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, he's a billionaire. He already has tens or hundreds of billions of dollars worth of stock in Tesla. And I'm like, if you already earned lots of shares in a company that you currently work at, would you be fine with your employer just not paying you anything going forward because you already own a bunch of stock? No, of course not. And it doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or you're worth $100,000. Like, I think the same principle stands in that a CEO should be incentivized. The CEO's incentives should be aligned with shareholder interests. And right now, yes, Elon owns a lot of Tesla stock already, but he could leave Tesla and still own that same amount of Tesla stock. Let's put those 2018 compensation shares aside just because that case is still ongoing. We should get a verdict for that, I think, in November, December this year from the Delaware Supreme Court. But I would like the Tesla board to sort of present a new compensation package. I don't know if they're waiting for the Delaware case to sort of wrap up or if they can sort of do it anyways sooner. But to me, that would further incentivize and motivate Elon to be more focused at Tesla, to drive the share price higher, set really ambitious operational and market cap milestones. I think that's the best way to do it. And I disagree with Dan Ives. Like, don't put in timekeeping crap or have Elon check in or not, have certain guardrails where he can't say certain things about politically. That's ridiculous. Don't babysit Elon. You're just going to fail. It's just not going to work. So we'll see where the American Party goes, but I think there's more important things going on at Tesla. It's still too early to see what the impact will be from a Tesla investor perspective, but this is Elon, so I think he's going to throw everything he has behind this idea and run with it, see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't think Elon agreed with Dan either, based on his response on X to him when Dan suggested some guardrails. Speaking to the midterms just for a second, just for the clarity here. So it seems like his idea is to have, here we go. Yeah, Elon didn't take too kindly to it.
Although, I love how Dan retweeted that.
Dan retweeted that. That's actually hilarious. Dan
he just likes the attention, I think.
I think Dan took it well. Hey, shut up is quite mild coming from Elon, based on some of the things he's been saying about other people lately. So, okay, so the plan here is basically some type of like midterms push for them, and they will have this party created and they'll back candidates that are running within this party area and try to supplement or, succeed essentially some of the candidates from traditional parties that are in these areas. And the candidates that they're running on will essentially embody these values of more of the, don't add to our debt, maybe more pro EV, things along those lines, right?
Yes, but I also worry that that's sort of what we saw last year with the Republicans. They said they were going to like cut spending, focus on that, codify all these Doge cuts, right, and do this and that. And now they're doing the opposite. Like just in the last week, we've seen obviously this really expensive, big beautiful bill pass the Senate and Congress, and Trump has officially signed it into law now. So that's going to increase our deficit. So that's doing what the opposite of what Trump said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think they were talking about amnesty for illegals. And then on top of that, they don't want to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein files. And it's all these things that they ran on that they said they were going to do. They're doing the opposite. So that's just sort of like how politicians work. So I would be worried that even though the American Party might be well-intentioned, and this wouldn't be Elon's fault, he would certainly be well-intentioned. Any candidates that would run on the American Party ticket, I'd be worried that, and I said this before, they would sort of get consumed by the Washington swamp, and that special interests, fundraising stuff would just start to cloud them, and then they would end up doing the opposite of what they ran on with the American parties. But again, I don't know what's going to happen. It's too early. I could be wrong about that. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I think you see this at all levels of not just government, but leadership. It seems like people have, one directive and then they get into office and then they're like, oh, all these people are just children. I need to, shelter them.
Well, I think Elon feels sort of betrayed and like he was stabbed in the back a little bit. I think he spent a lot of his precious time and a lot of money. Yeah. And to be honest, his reputation, he put it on the line to back Trump and to help him win. And then Trump sort of goes, and he sets up Doge for Elon and all that. And then he goes and proposes this bill, which increases spending, sort of just throwing to the side all the efforts that Doge happened throughout the first few months of the administration. And so that's like a huge bummer for Elon. This guy's like life was at risk for a while there, more so than it used to be. A lot of death threats being thrown at him, all these people wanting him dead. People were firebombing like Tesla customer cars just because Elon stepped into politics. Like the personal toll it must have taken on him for a while there was probably pretty immense. I think this is just in response to like just feeling betrayed. He wants to just start his own party.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about, this bill and what it means for EVs. But before we do get into that, Omar, any other comments just in regards to the politics side of this?
I think American politics is broken. I think the federal government's broken. We as Americans have just gotten used to it. Oh yeah, $1 trillion deficits. Oh yeah, the government can't pass anything. It's just kind of normal for us, right? We've become kind of desensitized to it. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world for somebody to try something. Nobody's saying we love this two parties too much. I don't align with either of them. One wants union-made EVs, and the other wants cars powered by fossil fuels. I think there is actually room for a sensible middle ground that most Americans would identify with. And, people say, well, he should focus more on Tesla. All the other CEOs in the auto industry who were focused full-time on their companies did not manage to launch a Robotaxi service. He did, despite his involvement in politics. So I think the Tesla team is going to continue executing really well. I don't think this is going to be a sort of end of the world scenario. And honestly, this is why nothing ever gets fixed in American politics. People are afraid to try anything. They're afraid to say anything. There's pressure from shareholders to do nothing because, well, what if it makes my stock go down? And honestly, good for him for trying something. I think, is it probably going to be a failure? Yeah, I don't expect it to revolutionize the U.S. government, but it's probably worth trying something rather than doing nothing.
And it's probably true that some Tesla investors that have just been around a while are not going to be able to stomach this next sort of journey that he's going to go into politics. you have to sort of have brass balls to be a long-term Tesla shareholder, and the ups and downs. It's like it's the craziest roller coaster ever. But I'm still gonna hold. Have been for over 7 years now. So we'll see how
Yeah,
it goes.
I saw your tweet to the subs the other day. You're
Mhm.
like, I've decided today that I'm gonna continue to hold just like I have for seven
Yeah.
years.
I mean, one thing we should maybe also touch on is that I think even maybe Elon was surprised how detrimental the big beautiful bill is, not only for Tesla, just but the renewable industry in general. Um, when it got passed on July 3rd, I went through it, and you got the $7,500 EV credit ending September 30th, and the $4,000 used EV credit September 30th. Um, Nothing about EV fees in the bill, which is good, but terminates the solar tax credit. That stuff has been around for a long time. The ZEV credits essentially are going to be gone because it effectively guts the system that creates demand for those credits. And then you got the battery manufacturing credit. It looks like Tesla will still qualify for that, which is great. But you got all these other credits and home energy credit that's going to be gone. And so this bill probably will end up like resulting in lost revenue of maybe $3 billion a year for Tesla, which is a lot. And most of that is just pure profit because it was just um, like regulatory credit sales and stuff like that. So that's not nothing. That's a big hit. Tesla will obviously be fine, but it's pretty brutal.
I think it's bigger than that, though. It's bigger than just the impact on Tesla. It really is a big hit for our country. You look at what's going on in China right now. I mean, China is now selling more EVs than the US sells cars of any kind. Their power generation capability is growing like crazy. And that means they have no problem powering the AI data centers that they need to take their country into the future. Meanwhile, here in the US, power generation is stagnant. It's really difficult for these data centers to get the power they need. They're employing mega packs and generators on site. Solar and battery, I think, are a big part of the solution of allowing America to build out its power generation capability, its AI data centers, its electric vehicle infrastructure. And this really sets our country back in that regard
And to
in a
your point,
major
Omar,
way.
to your point, all these GPU data centers, they just can't be run off gas generators because the gas like fossil fuel generators just can't handle the energy fluctuations within a GPU data center. That's why Elon brought in those Tesla Megapacks into the XAI center because the gas generators just couldn't keep up. Like the energy demands that go up and down all the time with these GPU centers. It's not just one constant rate. So for Trump to sort of gut all these incentives and all these proposed ideas for renewable energy, I mean, just in the next like 5 years, we're going to see 1,000 gas and oil and coal peaker plants in the U.S. Be shut down. And I think those provide upwards of like 61 gigawatt hours of, and most of them are coal fired, actually, the ones I'm referring to, but through 2030. So Trump is talking about all these like clean coal issues. I'm like, that doesn't even exist. Like, what is clean coal?
Clean coal.
Like, we should be investing heavily in solar. I think it was just in May of this year, China alone installed 91 gigawatt hours of new solar capacity. Like, what are we doing in the U.S.? We can't keep up with that. We're going to be left. Our energy independence is going to be horrible compared to China's. And if we don't continue to invest in renewable energy, we're going to be left behind in this AI race because we can't rely on fossil fuels for that. Our energy needs and demands are going to skyrocket in the coming years. And if we don't stay on top of that, and this new bill that Trump just passed, signed into law, kind of indicates we won't, then we're kind of going to be screwed. We're going to be left behind. We're not going to be a leader in the AI race, which is extremely important for our just dominance as a country, but just in technology in general.
Yeah, that's a really important point that you just made. If you can't power the data centers, you can't build the biggest data centers. If you can't build the biggest data centers, you're not going to have the smartest models. And if you don't have the smartest models, you fall behind in national security, in economic growth. It's not just, as Trump accused Elon of, oh, he's mad we're getting rid of the EV subsidies. This is the wrong direction for our country, and I think it puts America at risk. And neither of the two parties seem to really understand that.
It seems like most of the major players right now in that AI space are privatized. How do you look at it when you kind of think, private entities that can create their, sources of energy, build out these factories versus the government being more involved in the creation of this energy in areas along those lines?
The level of infrastructure investment needed to sort of meet the needs of future AI centers and all that is far beyond what I think private companies alone can do. You're going to need some government assistance, I think, government investment. And that's what you would want just in general to be able to create a sustainable long-term future solution. I don't think you can just rely on the Oracles and the SoftBanks of the world to pony up $500 billion. I mean, that's just not going to work. You need the government involved. And unfortunately, it looks like certainly the Republicans that voted for this have no clue what the kind of energy needs we need in the near-term future for AI, what AI even means, and what gutting a lot of these incentives for renewable energies are going to do to our energy independence.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think really on the regulatory side, getting the grid transmission infrastructure and the permitting, it's just not designed for growth anymore. We haven't had dramatic growth in so long that this process is just slow, bureaucratic, and full of bottlenecks. So I think what you're actually going to see and what you're already starting to see is an increasing reliance on distributed energy. If the grid can't supply all the energy you need, people are going to be buying megapacks. They're going to be generating solar on site. People are even looking to nuclear on site, where instead of relying on the grid, they're kind of building their own microgrid just to power these data centers. And I think Tesla Energy and megapacks are going to play a big part in that.
I do worry what the cancellation of this EV credit also will mean for legacy auto manufacturers' EV efforts. We've already seen them start to pull back on their electric vehicle and battery plant investments. And just the data that I've seen in Q1 and through Q2, except for maybe GM and VW, most legacy auto manufacturers are seeing their EV sales drop or if not plummet. And I don't think that's going to get any better once the EV credit disappears. I think Tesla will be okay. They have a strong enough brand, a good enough product, but a lot of these legacy auto manufacturers don't. So they're going to, I read a interview last night where the Rivian CEO, RJ, he was talking about because of this cancellation of the incentives and the EV credit, we're likely to see fewer electric vehicle competition in 2030 than we have today. Because these legacy auto manufacturers just aren't going to want to invest in it because the demand isn't there. Even Honda, just this week, they announced they're not going to build a large all-electric SUV because they don't see the demand for it in the near-term future, and because of the federal incentives disappearing. Nissan delaying 2 EVs a couple years because of the cancellation of the federal incentives. A couple others are delaying EVs. It sucks because we had this really strong momentum heading into 2020 and in the last few years, but the last thing we want to see is have China fully converted over into electric, and then we're just stuck on fossil fuel crap like coal power plants and gas vehicles because we didn't have the balls to, or the foresight to sort of keep these incentives around and invest in a renewable future. Crazy.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. The world is moving on. All across the world, go to Eastern Europe, go to South America, you'll start seeing Chinese EVs, BYDs, all over the place. These EVs and autonomous electric vehicles, they're the cars of the future. And if we don't build them here in America, well, the traditional American auto industry over in Detroit may not exist in the future as these Chinese EVs start to eat their market all over the world. So these subsidies were really making it viable for them to invest. Without them, you're going to see more of what we're already seeing from Honda and all of these legacy automakers.
Do you think the driving force behind all this, I mean, like it always is money and donors and, people that have a lot of incentive to keep
special interests.
Yeah, special interest.
That's what it is. Do Republicans truly care about what's the difference between coal and renewable energy? If their constituents and in their districts, where most of those jobs came from renewable energy sources, they would vote for that stuff, not fossil fuels and coals. It just so happens that a lot of red states are still stuck on, more fossil fuel, coal generated stuff of the past. That's what the lawmakers from those districts feel like they got to support and vote on, unfortunately. So, yeah, sucks.
Yeah, it's ultimately what seems to be controlling it. I want to talk a little bit about the more affordable models now, because it seems like this was already a plan in place, was to roll out some of these more affordable models. We're not too far out from the earnings call. Very curious if we're going to get conversation around that, but especially with this bill coming in now, it becomes much more prudent. Before we talk about that, real quick, for everyone that is watching here on YouTube, we actually have a second channel now, Gigacast Clips, where we're taking the best moments from all the Gigacast episodes and we're uploading them there, some different insights. We're going to put that link up right here on the screen. So make sure that if you're subbed to this channel, you might as well sub to that channel as well. Gigacast Clips right here. Check it out. So let's talk about the more affordable model that they're working towards. Omar, Sawyer, I see you guys posting, a lot of people have fun with this. They Photoshop pictures, right? They have the covered cars. What do we really know so far?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like people are losing their minds a little bit trying to find this more affordable model, but it's nowhere to be seen. And here we are, we're in the second half of the year. They definitely can't copy paste the same statement about first half of 2025. They've got to give us some info on the earnings call, but there's nothing to be seen. So hopefully they do actually have a meaningfully more affordable model ready, because with the expiration of the tax credit in Q4, it's going to be more important now than ever to have that in the lineup.
Omar, I'm curious. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of DMs from people saying when you think the new models are going to come. And if you're Tesla, what would you do if they're ready? Would you just release them now in Q3 in the US, or would you wait until Q4 when the EV credit's going to expire and that'll help offset sort of the loss of that? But on one hand, I'm like, this EV credit is just a US credit. So if you introduce, let's say, the more affordable models elsewhere in the world, that could create a situation where some people wait for them to arrive in the US and maybe after Q3. Or do you just say, screw it, if they're ready, just like release them everywhere, and maybe people end up buying a cheaper car than they otherwise would have from Tesla? Because it's an interesting situation. I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I assume it wouldn't qualify for the tax credit right away. We haven't seen anything update on the website. So I don't think they would hold it if it were ready. More likely, if there's any sort of holdup on getting it delivered this quarter, it's probably tariff related or some items like that.
I think that's why they were maybe delayed, is because of the tariff situation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping they give us an announcement on the earnings call and just finally unveil it for us, because investors are scratching their head. They're saying, where are these new, more affordable models?
Unfortunately, if they're unveiled, it's going to be interesting to see the pricing strategy with these things, because I bet they had one pricing strategy, half a year ago, and then all of a sudden the tariffs come into play. And then on top of that, the EV credit's now disappearing, like much sooner than everyone expected. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens after Q3. Does Tesla lower the prices of, the Model 3 and Model Y by maybe a few thousand or whatever it is, or do they just keep prices the same, or do they just offer their own rebate that's like $7,500 or something? And then what happens with the more affordable model pricing with the EV credit now gone? So it's gonna be cool to see what happens.
You just hit on tariffs right there. What do you think Elon says about tariffs in the earnings call?
I don't think he'll dance around it as much as on the last one, because him and Trump aren't really buddies the way they were in April. But he's sort of made it clear in the past that like he's all for free trade. I don't think he's a fan of tariffs. I think he feels like it hinders innovation and raises prices, not only on companies but the consumers ultimately. So my guess is he speaks out against them.
Yeah, this trade war has been kind of a disaster and a clown show. They say they're negotiating, they delay it again. It's just so unpredictable. And the bottom line is it's not good for American manufacturing. It is not helping American manufacturers survive and thrive. Trump says that he wants to promote American manufacturing. This isn't a stable environment for American manufacturing to grow. This isn't an environment where international companies come in and say, yes, let's build a new factory in the US. Let's make a new multi-billion dollar commitment because they just don't know what's going to happen next week or the week after that.
Yeah, it has been complicated. I saw Blinken saying that so far, or perhaps it was whatever it was going to be this year, it's about 100 billion brought in tariffs, and as you just said right there, Sawyer, that's 100 billion passed down to us, right? To pay
Yeah.
the costs on.
Look, if there's one thing Elon knows, it's one, how to run a company, but he also understands economics really well. And because he runs so many companies, he has a foot in a lot of different industries. So he has great insight into what is going on in the economy, for one, but also how trade is, like, how the supply chain is going, where things might be bottlenecked or where prices might be going up. He sort of has a pulse on everything because his companies, especially Tesla, suppliers are global. So he has great insight into things that maybe the average person doesn't. So when Elon talks about the economy and the impacts of, certain things like tariffs, I would open your ears and listen.
We've speculated a little bit on this more affordable model as to what it could be. Do you guys have any additional insights to put on top of what we speculated on in the past, or is pretty much all?
I'm still in the camp of just like more affordable Y3. I don't think it's going to be some smaller, shorter compact. I hope I'm wrong because I think a shorter, smaller compact would do better sales wise. But I just feel like we would have seen it testing out on the road by now. Like, that just would be weird if we didn't.
Yeah, it's got to look pretty similar to a Model Y for it to blend in the way that it has. So I'm expecting really a Model Y with components from the Cybercab that help bring down the cost. And that's probably about it.
Got it.
Yep.
And then cost-wise, do you have an expectation?
I have no clue. I mean,
That's tough because you got the tariffs and then you got the elimination of the EV credit. So, like, I'm pretty sure Tesla themselves are probably trying to figure out pricing. I don't know. We'll see.
But sub 30K, right? That's kind of the idea.
No, I don't think it's going to be so.
Don't think so?
Not, it's a Cybercab, yes, but not the more affordable model. I don't. Without the EV credit, you can't get sub 30K. I don't see how that's possible, unless it's like a legitimately ground up new compact car. But I don't think that's what we're going to see. So
Got it.
I think, unfortunately, I think what the price will end up being is what maybe a current rear-wheel drive Model Y is with the EV credit, if that makes sense. So like mid 30s, high 30s, maybe. That's probably what it'll end up being, excluding any incentives.
You mentioned beforehand, just to kind of wrap up the political discussion, that one of the reasons a lot of these senators are pushing the way they are is because of where they're based, what their constituents rely on, oil, gas, other items like that. And you also mentioned that there's not a lot that pushes AI forward here. There seems to be very few players in Congress that are pushing it forward. I think Cynthia Loomis, right, has been a little bit more in the forefront there. Is there anyone that you see as a voice right now in government that is actually saying, hey, we have to do this or we're going to fall behind on AI. We're going to fall behind in national security because America spends, more than the next, like 7 countries combined on our military. So it seems a little silly that we're not focused on that AI portion, which could really overtake everything.
I don't know. Omar, you?
look, Congress doesn't really think like that. They think in a very simple way. I need to get reelected. Re-election is going to be expensive. It costs a lot of money to run a campaign. Now, who's going to give me the money to fund my re-election campaign? Well, guess who makes a ton of money? The oil and gas companies. They've got the most valuable company on earth is Saudi Aramco. They make boatloads of money. So does the American oil industry. They're all funding the re-election campaigns of these Republicans. And so they're going to look out for those interests.
And there's so many oil and gas lobbyists in Washington. Like, it's so entrenched, and that's just so much terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like big pharma.
That's the special interests at play. Like, they just fuel or funnel money into all these candidates. saying, "Oh, do this for us and we'll give you money." And then they got to get elected. Like as Omar said, it's expensive to run. So they just agree to it.
I love when people throw big in front of something, it's big oil, big pharma. I'm hoping that one day we have, big AI, right? It's big tech.
Yeah.
They're controlling this.
Maybe. I mean, Tesla used to have more of a lobbying effort than I think they do now. But most of these politicians are sort of career politicians. They haven't really worked in like AI or anything close to that. They haven't worked in the technology industry. So to expect them to understand what the hell is at stake here is a little bit crazy. And that's unfortunate. A lot of people say we should put like engineers and all like our scientists as like our elected representatives. And I think that does make sense. But unfortunately, we just kind of, and maybe that is partly what makes America great, is we just elect whoever, right? So, but that also means that they don't necessarily have an understanding of the things that they're regulating on.
Yeah. You do have some people in there like Thomas Massey, who has, an engineering and a farming background, right, in pieces like that. And then you have, Nancy Mace, whose background was Waffle House. And so you kind of have like the two different sides, and they come together in Congress and give all their opinions. Yeah, it
and
stays
that's not to say people can't learn like later on, like just because you didn't work in the technology industry doesn't mean you don't understand AI or anything. But
it doesn't hurt to have a background, though.
Yeah,
Look, these people are old. I'm going to be impressed if they can turn their computer on, let alone understand AI.
Yeah, they remind me of, have you guys seen the movie, what was it, like The Internship or something, where Vince Vaughn is telling the guy, and he's like, it's online, not on the line, and they just like can't get it. Kind of makes me feel like that.
The average age of a U.S. senator, or the median age, whatever, is about 65 years old. I mean, come on now.
In any other field, we tell people to retire when they get to that age. You're done now, Grandpa. Go rest. In the U.S. government, that is your average person.
Yeah, you're turning 65. Time to start running.
I mean, Chuck Grassley, he's in the Senate. He's 91.
Wow.
He's the Warren Buffett of senators.
And to be honest, it's pretty crazy because a lot of these people who we look at them are like, wow, they are just terrible. They win with overwhelming support from their districts, from the voting side. So it's a little bit of a mind fuck. All right.
It's not really any surprise they're not thinking about the far future. They're not thinking about EVs, AI. They're probably thinking, hey, I'm going to be dead by the time we see any impact from this.
Yeah. Well, there you go, right? Think for yourself, not for others. Okay, we had some small updates made to the Robotaxi app, and people have continued taking journeys down there. Like we talked about in our last episode, they've opened it up for additional riders. There have been some discussions as to when they're going to widen that geofence. I saw some, fun suggestions for how they could widen it, where that could go. I don't know if you guys saw those posts, but they were interesting. There also was an addition, like I was kind of hinting to there in the app, where you can now select where you want by dragging the pin. That seems like something that was highly requested by you guys. And then I don't know if there were any other pieces added in beyond those, but I'm just curious what you guys have been seeing.
My number one feature request, which was let us be able to like pin drop exactly where we want to get picked up, has been added. Yeah. Most of the things that I had complaints about, they've actually already fixed, which is awesome. Now you can drag a pin of where you want to get sort of picked up, the general area. And then it gives you multiple, multiple choices, via dots, like 3 to 4 dots of where the Robotaxi can go. And then once the Robotaxi gets there, it gives you 15 minutes to get in the car. So you can the Robotaxi could arrive, you could go into McDonald's, eat, and probably come out and still be enough time. So I don't think that's going to be there for forever. I think 15 minutes is a bit long. Yeah. But yeah, more invites going out. A couple of people internationally have gotten an invite, so they're flying in from Korea to start riding.
Wow.
But I think ultimately we're going to see them expand the fleet and probably get rid of safety monitors before they expand. They're going to expand the fleet and then maybe expand the geofence area, and then maybe later get rid of the safety monitors south of the river, but maybe keep them in the new geofenced areas. But I don't think we've seen any increase in the amount of robotaxis. I think there's still 11, so I think it's going to be a little while before we see it expanded.
Yeah, so they're moving pretty quickly. They're updating the app. We've noticed them expand the ODD, the operational design domain. Seems to be working in rain a little more. They're inviting new users. They're sort of scaling as you'd expect. And overall, we haven't had any major safety incidents, no injuries, anything like that. So this is, I think, what really matters. As they scale the service out, as they remove the safety monitors, expand the geofence, it's going to be hard to ignore the fact that an ordinary Model Y is able to drive itself with just computer vision. And this is really what the $1 trillion valuation for Tesla hinges on. So while everybody else is distracted, I'm watching this Robotaxi service. I think that, so far they've made some little improvements here or there. The big milestones are really going to be adding more cars, removing the safety monitors, expanding the geofence, and within, I think, a few months, probably announcing some of the next cities. I would think maybe other cities in Texas or Phoenix or Bay Area or Los Angeles and San Francisco would be some of the next candidates.
We did see the media sort of make a big deal about a video from Dirty Tesla Chris. He recorded one of the Robotaxis. The media is calling it the first Robotaxi crash, but like a tire of one of the Robotaxis touched tips with another tire of a parked car, and they're calling that a crash. To be fair, that's like it did something wrong. That is something it shouldn't have happened. But a crash is the definition of a crash is collide violently with an obstacle or another vehicle. I'm not sure that was violently if it went half a mile an hour, but. Anyway, we're going to continue to see these headlines of any little bad thing that might or might not happen. So,
yeah, I mean, if you look at Waymo, crashes do sometimes happen. You can bring down crashes substantially and they're still not going to be at zero. I'm just happy there hasn't been anything major, right? Any cars wrecked,
serious.
Yeah, overall, I think, it's been a success. And, I went through the, what was that pizza place called?
Home Slice Pizza.
Yeah, I went through that Home Slice Pizza parking lot as well several times on my ride. It was a very tight parking lot. I was actually kind of recording it like, wow, how's it going to get out of here?
Yep.
But every time I did it, it was able to navigate that parking lot successfully. So they've got some additional training data there. They're going to continue to improve it. But yeah, I think people probably don't realize just how often a drive just goes perfectly without any intervention. It's almost every time, and they haven't really been able to find much to criticize it, at least nothing major.
Yeah, I went to Home Slice Pizza, I think 3 or 4 times into that lot, not to eat, just to go there. And it is sort of like, not an edge case, but it is a very tight parking lot, very tricky situation. And it's a good sort of test for the Robotaxi service, actually. But every time I went, it would always, there's a sort of on the left side as you pull in, there's a concrete wall, and it would always get like 2 inches away from that. But it would never hit it. So I was always really impressed by that. But Chris's thing is sort of a different scenario where I guess it would just sort of rub tires against another parked vehicle there. But, ultimately not that big a deal, but you do want to sort of sort these things out.
I saw a video that I believe you quote tweeted, Omar, where one of the guys was like, "This is for science." And then he grabbed the driver's door handle to see if it would open, and it is unlocked, and it opens into the driver's seat. And you mentioned that that's something they should probably lock, right?
Yeah, that should be locked.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's little things here and there that they still need to do. I think obviously you don't want someone to get in the driver's seat and try and drive the car. The safety monitor would probably prevent that. But this is really the strength of what Tesla does. They can update the vehicle firmware and make sure the driver door doesn't open, but the other car doors do.
Yeah, that's the cool part. Is with Waymo, is that driver's door usually locked?
That's a good question. I don't think you can go into the driver door in a Waymo.
Yeah. Speaking of Waymo did roll out is starting to roll out in Philadelphia. So they have already had their first car in New York, and now they're going to be going to Philadelphia next. So it seems like they're actually moving pretty rapidly, which is great for Robotaxi.
Well, I think those are just testing. Like they're just testing in New York right now. Typically, I think the way they do it is they sort of scan or map the place for 6 months, and then they do tests for 6 months, and then they sort of launch in the area. But right now in New York, they just launched this week. Yeah. Or by launch, I mean just they have cars on the road with employees in the driver's seat. By law, they have to have someone sitting in the driver's seat. And I think they're trying to encourage New York to change that law, because also Tesla can't launch there without a driver in the seat unless sort of Waymo leads the way there. So yeah, they're expanding. I'm glad they're paving the way, sort of, and dealing with a lot of these regulation issues before Tesla needs to, because it actually might help clear the path for Tesla to sort of launch quicker in some of these areas. So that's good.
Yeah, I love using Waymo. I'm glad they're expanding. When I was in New York City, I definitely missed them being there and having to take human-driven cars. But, a lot of these cities they're announcing are quote-unquote road trips. That means they're driving the car there with a human behind the wheel just to kind of assess how the system does. And everybody gets really excited about all these road trip announcements. Oh my God, they're taking a road trip to Philadelphia. Tesla's so screwed. Well, guess what? Tesla already took a road trip to the entire United States, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, China. They're in Madrid. They're in the Netherlands. They're in Paris. They don't need to take a road trip because they've got customers all over the place who are already testing the software extensively. Before the first Waymo set foot in New York City, Teslas were already doing drives through New York City every day. You can go see some videos I posted where the car drives from a parking lot in downtown Manhattan near the World Trade Center to Midtown in the rain with no human intervention from parking spot to parking spot. So it really just kind of shows the advantage of Tesla's approach. And they're not going to announce that they're taking road trips to this city or that city, but they're already pulling in data every day from Philadelphia, from New York, from all of these cities. And yeah, the race is really on now to expand self-driving across the entire country, which is really exciting.
Yeah, you hit on Puerto Rico there. I actually talked to, I know that they've rolled out FSD in Puerto Rico. I talked to someone in this past week at an event, and it was the first person I talked to that actually used FSD here in Puerto Rico, which I don't know if you know, but the infrastructure and the roads are not exactly great here in Puerto Rico. But he did say that it was a smooth ride and that he had no interventions. So that was cool.
One of the things
Wow.
in the last couple of days, once we sort of found out that the EV credit was disappearing, I encouraged Tesla to like do an all-out sort of informational blitz, like get it all plastered all over the website, all over all your social media channels, hell, maybe even try some paid ads, and just to get the word out. And they've actually started to do that. They have massive letters now and $7,500 EV credit ending on the homepage of their website. I would love if they did a similar thing for FSD. I think most people have no clue what FSD is, how it performs, what kind of technology it is, its capabilities. And from my perspective, every single person that actually gets in the driver's seat and flips it on and tries it for the first time, they're blown away and they understand that, wow, actually self-driving is a lot closer than I thought it was. So we've talked about this a million times. Continue to educate people, do a better job at it. But
Yeah, go take a free
yeah,
test drive.
yeah, take a
Yeah.
test
I
drive.
mean, even when we interviewed Jose, the guy who got the first fully autonomous delivery, he said, well, I didn't even know that much about FSD. I didn't even subscribe. I'm subscribing now that my car showed up driverlessly. But that really kind of just frames the whole situation. Tesla's got this incredible product that's like nothing else on the market, but people don't understand what the product is or what they want, why they want it. It's a really interesting situation.
Yeah. I want to note something I like as well, just on X itself. The Tesla account has always had some personality. The Cybertruck account has a little more personality. The Robotaxi account, whoever they have running that thing, they are just letting loose.
I
Have
think
you?
Viv runs all those accounts. She's great. She does a great job with the Cybertruck and Robotaxi accounts. She has a good sense of humor.
She runs all of them.
You can sort of see her kind of humor in the Cybertruck account and the Robotaxi account. I don't know if she runs every single. I don't know if she does every post. I'm sure she gets some
What?
help. She's not awake 24 hours a day, but
Yeah, like look at this one. Scroll up, Evan. There was the one where someone asked, click in there. That one, the tweet above it. Scroll up. Someone was like, Robotaxi doors unlocked. That's the one I talked about. And then they commented with that meme of it, like looking at it. What happens if I get in the driver's seat? I scream as like more like a moan or a help. Go find out. Might be the last time though. Like it's funny.
I wouldn't want Tesla to have like a normal social media account. Like you sort of expect Tesla to be like a little quirky, a little weird, a little funny with it. I'm glad they are.
Look, the social media accounts are great, but if you're following the Tesla Robotaxi account, you're probably already sold. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I want to go see them take out a billboard in Times Square, shout it from the rooftop somewhere, reach these people who would just completely enjoy the product. It would change their life, but they have no clue why they would even want it. Let alone, really knowing what it is.
So what are you saying, Omar? Are you saying
it.
it's officially time for some paid advertising?
Look, I don't care about whether they advertise. I'm not that religiously opposed to paid advertising. Whatever they need to do to actually get people aware of this product. I mean, in some sense, it's pretty new. FSD's really only been working for the last 6 months. But yeah, I think they do need to try something new. It's not working. What they're doing right now is not working. If it was, we'd see sales growing like crazy in the US if people really understood what this product was and what it could do for them. So yeah, hopefully they try something new here and don't just kind of stick to the playbook that hasn't resulted in growth.
We should be seeing wait times, estimated delivery wait times in the US for like the Model 3 and Y rising quickly, and we're not. So that tells me that not enough people are buying them to have that increase. So Tesla needs to get the word out much better than they already are. It's a good start, website stuff and social media. That's great. Saw them put out on Instagram as well. That's great. But ultimately, you need to reach people that are outside of your follower base. And to me, I hate to say it, but like some paid ads might work here, Tesla. Go try it.
Tesla's got an extremely loyal customer base, but they're most likely underwater on the Tesla they bought in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
Their Tesla stock is not doing well enough to buy them a car. There's all these people out there who would love this product, and we got to figure out how to reach them.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Speaking of X, which is a great distribution network, certainly that they can use and that they do, and another one of Elon's companies and is tied in with XAI, there are some changes happening at X as of today, announced by Linda Yaccarino that she is stepping down after 2 years as CEO. We're not sure yet who the new CEO will be. She did mention that there's a transition period here with XAI. I'm curious, Sawyer, I saw you comment below thanking her for the time. If you have just any general thoughts on this.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is Linda sort of entered at a time which was a very difficult time to be the CEO of any Elon's companies, let alone X. And so to her credit, I think she did a pretty decent job given the circumstances. Having said that, I think in the last year and a half, we sort of did see a slowdown in terms of new features, bug squashing, and the rollout of the further improvement of the creator revenue share program. There's been some improvements last year, but there's just so much more that they need to be doing, especially on the streaming front. I feel like X would do so well in the streaming economy, but they just don't add the features that streamers want. I don't know what the deal is. And then on top of that, XAI just acquired X, or I guess they sort of merged. And so I think going forward, X probably needs a more technology-focused CEO rather than an ad and media-based one, which is what Linda was. She was sort of head of ads and media at NBC. So I don't know the specific reason of why she stepped down, but it's important to remember that Elon is the CEO really of every single one of his companies. X was really the only one he wasn't CEO at. A lot of people think that Gwen Shotwell at SpaceX is the CEO of SpaceX, but that's not true. It's actually Elon is still the CEO of SpaceX. Gwen is the COO, I think, and the president. And she does an incredible job of running the day-to-day things for Elon, so he doesn't have to worry about all that. Elon can focus on the big picture, the engineering stuff. And I think that's what Tesla, X needs going forward, a person that can handle the day-to-day for Elon, but that also understands technology really well and sort of take X to the next level from a product and feature standpoint, but also, balancing that sort of merger with XAI and understanding sort of implications for that and how best to grow the company from there.
Yeah, I have nothing but love for Linda. I don't want to say anything bad about her, but at the same time, um, what was she really doing? Was she winning over the big advertisers to come back to the platform? I didn't see it. The platform itself feels like it's like a rusty old house that's falling apart. Spaces don't work. There's
It
all
is kind
these
of true.
spam bots, just like
Yeah.
racist stuff. It's not a shining example of an Elon company. And they haven't grown to be one of the major internet platforms in a way that I think they totally have the potential to do. They're not growing. They're not adding new users. They're not expanding into new verticals. It's all moving very slowly. So I think what they really need is an engineering focused leader, especially now that really XAI has become kind of the cash cow, right? Or the future of the company. And X has just kind of become a part of that. I think they really need an engineering focused CEO. And I was excited to see Nikita Beer join because he's always really been focused on growth. How do I grow an app, a new app, add the features to make it grow like crazy, go viral? And that's what I think X has been missing: growth, life, really living up to the potential of what it could be because it's such an amazing platform. So, I'm thankful to Linda for coming in as CEO, for kind of being that face of sales for the company. But I think a change of leadership wouldn't be the worst thing for X.
I don't know what happened. Like when she became CEO in July of 23. By the way, Gav, we can hear us in your echo, so might mute
Sorry.
yourself. All good. When she became CEO in July 23, man, I feel like for the rest of that year, we saw so many rapid new features and changes coming out that I feel like they were killing it in terms of rolling out new stuff. And then all of a sudden, maybe it's because we saw a few employee departures. But through like sort of last year and then heading into this year, I feel like we haven't really seen that many new features come out as quickly and things being worked on in the way they should be. Like Spaces to this day, I think is one of the coolest features and one of the most unique features that X has. And they continue to not invest anything into it. Like I can't even remember the last time X or Spaces got a new feature.
We don't even know who runs the team anymore. The last two people that they hired for it both have left.
And maybe that's because we have seen a sort of a string of employee departures in the recent months and last year as well. So maybe the people heading a lot of these things are gone now, and the people that are running them now just don't have expertise in it. I don't know. But like X just really needs to just, as Omar said, fix the rustiness, fix the bolts, squash the bugs. Like there's still a huge bot problem here and there, like a massive bot problem. Like I feel like every bot says the word accurate in their post. How hard would it be to just have AI identify that and get rid of these bots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, simply put, it needs to become a product focused company. They need to make the product better. They have enormous potential here, and we're not seeing it be realized with the current leadership.
I would also say, like, Omar and I live and breathe X. We're on there all the fucking time. And like, get more feedback from the people that like the heavy users of this platform. Like, ask them what they would like to see, sort of some of the issues that they're having. Have a dialogue with those people. And yes, there is some of that, like publicly, directly on X. Some of the X employees do, request feedback and ask questions. But sort of more of a back and forth with some of the biggest platform users, I think, would be good, because we're ultimately driving a lot of the engagement for the platform. And if X is so good to have in terms of news. Like if anything happens in the world, people go to X. You don't go to legacy media anymore to check on what's going on first thing. You go to X. So capitalize on that. Make the platform better for everybody.
Do you think Nikita, sorry, and I don't know if my sound's going to be different now. It's not letting me put it back onto the other mic, but
Yep.
Do you think Nikita maybe could get escalated to CEO?
I don't know much about him, Omar. Do you? I know he's a big account and he's the head of product now, but I don't know.
Uh, I mean, I think it's a possibility. I don't know if that's going to happen at this moment, but yeah, being CEO of X, you need to be product focused. You need to also be able to win over the advertisers. I think the platform has a really bright future, especially when you look at Grok and how that could be integrated into the platform. It could completely change the product, but I'm not sure that we're seeing that today. So hopefully they can make the right moves for X to grow. I think it could be the biggest social app in the world. I think it could have billions of users with the right team and with the right execution. And so far that hasn't happened, but I don't think they're going to give up on it. So I'm still optimistic. The one thing I will say about X that's great, subscription payments and ad revenue share, it's great for creators. So, I have several $1,000s worth of subscriptions, people paying me $3 a month. And that's pretty great for creators. So I'm really thankful to them for that. But that's also why I want to see the platform grow and thrive and be around long term.
You guys mentioned Grok. Grok was supposed to have a big update today, but then they also shut down Grok. Went a little bit off the rails. It seems like one of those cases with AI. Have either of you guys looked into this?
Look, every single major LLM or AI tool has just had some sort of crisis, whether it's Google's Gemini with all those racist things like a year or two ago, like OpenAI with its own stuff, Grok too. It's like these things are going to happen. Obviously, like Elon is not specific, like intentionally putting like Hitler stuff in Grok AI. Like that's ridiculous to suggest that. So they're going to fix it, just like Gemini fixed their stuff and OpenAI. So people are making a big deal out of this, but like things are going to go wrong here and there occasionally. But ultimately, I think these are going to be, all these tools are going to be great, useful things for humanity. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the Grok 4 presentation tonight. I'm excited for the Grok integration in Tesla. I think that's going to be huge.
I think we're going to see that announcement tonight. I think
Yeah.
Elon's probably going to announce Grok 4 coming this day to Teslas or soon, my guess.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Hopefully we get a demo of that. But look, people think these LLMs are these wise thinking, it's software, right? It regurgitates what it's heard on the internet. By default, most of the internet's pretty liberal. Most of the LLMs turn out to be pretty liberal. They tried to make this more right-leaning. Turns out it went a little too far right. Started hating Jews, which is obviously not ideal. I think that they're going to strike the right balance here. I don't think that this is a unfixable problem. It's certainly kind of a funny situation in a sense that people are laughing at it. But I think they really have shown that they have the ability to train one of the best models. And I'm excited to see what improvements they have for us tonight.
Yeah, big day. Also, Perplexity rolling out their newest update as well, or Comet. There were some updates there, so it seems like AI is really pushing forward. Last thing, and then we'll wrap up. Evan, I know that we, asked for anyone to comment on our YouTube channel from last time. Wanted to maybe just highlight if there were any top comments that you'd want to share onto the screen. Maybe just one or two if we had some interesting ones. Definitely would appreciate all the engagement we get. Is Omar an optimist bot? That was my favorite comment.
I can't say. I'm under NDA.
He's V3 Optimus bot.
Regarding the Cybertruck, they need to admit the design was a flop and redesign it. Hopefully they make some cosmetic change. I did see a lot of people that have commented hey, if Tesla just made a normal looking truck, tons of people would buy it. What do you guys think?
I mean, yes and no. Like their sales right now aren't doing that great. So if it was like an affordable truck that had like a lot of range and good features, then yeah, I'd say so. I think ultimately the Cybertruck it just didn't resonate with as many people as I certainly thought it would. I think the design is a little out there. I think it's still just too expensive for most people, and it's probably like Tesla's probably having a hard time extracting costs out of that thing, is my guess. And unfortunately, they're just not selling that many, so they can't have economies of scale and reduce costs that way. So it's a bummer.
I don't think they should redesign the Cybertruck unless they can't figure out a way to make the current design cheaper. I was just driving mine this morning and man, it just such a delight every time you drive it. It kind of surprises you how nice it is. And, you know, they could obviously retain those aspects with a different design. But, you know, with sales kind of where they are, everybody wants to point to the design as the culprit. But it's outselling the Model S. It's outselling the Model X. It's outselling a lot of the competing EVs EV trucks that look more traditional. I don't think that it's impossible to sell this design at, say, more than 100,000 units if they can hit the right cost, the right feature set, if they can make FSD as good as the other vehicles,
Do you
if
think
they
it's
can
mostly
kind of
a cost thing at this point? Because, okay, let's say it was a $50,000 or $60,000 truck right now. Do you think sales would be like closer to 100,000, or is it literally just a feature design thing also?
I think that if the truck was $40,000 instead of $80,000, they'd be selling a lot more of them, no doubt. And I think really when you look at the autonomous future, it's going to be great for an autonomous future. Um, I don't think that the design is the main problem. There are some people who say, well, I don't want to drive a vehicle that looks like that. But there are a lot of people who actually really love it. I'm definitely in that camp. So let's see what they can do. If they can't bring it down, maybe it's time for redesign, but they've just invested so much in it. They'd have to take a massive write down if they redesigned it. So I think the path forward here isn't a redesign. It's actually trying to bring the cost down somehow. And if they can't figure out how to do that, then yeah, maybe you need to start from a blank sheet of paper.
The Cybertruck's been the only new Tesla model for the last 5.5 years. That's pretty crazy. So I hope these new, more affordable models are worth the wait.
Earnings coming up soon. We shall see. Really fun episode today. A lot got covered. Oh, one more. We'll take it. What happened to FSD on Semi? We haven't heard about Semi from Tesla in a while. I was
FSD. I think. Look, they still have to get production up and running, like mass production up and running on the Tesla Semi. Actually, I did just put out a story today from a press release of a company called ArcBest, which is a multi-billion-dollar logistics company, and they just finished a 3-week pilot program with the Tesla Semi. They drove about 4,500 miles, averaged 321 miles a day, and an efficiency of 1.55 kilowatt hours per mile. I don't think people understand how crazy efficient that is. That's wild. And it's likely only going to get better as time goes on. So from what we hear from all the people that use Tesla Semis, people love them. But ultimately, we need more of these things out on the road to sort of prove their worth and have larger fleets of them. So I think FSD is sort of like not really their focus right now. They're just focusing on making the actual product good and compelling enough, as well as just focusing on actual mass production of these things. So FSD is probably a long ways away for that.
Yeah, I mean, FSD for Semi, I just want to see a manually driven Tesla Semi in volume production.
Yeah.
The vehicle obviously has all the same autopilot hardware and cameras that we have on the other vehicles. They're going to start with, I think, basic active safety features, automatic emergency braking, lane departure avoidance, lane keeping. And yeah, absolutely. Their autonomous vision doesn't exclude the Semi. They definitely want to make this autonomous long term, but I think the main priority right now for the Semi is just getting it into series production.
You sort of have to understand, like, from a fleet perspective, there aren't that many semis on the road. Like, even for the Cybertruck hasn't really gotten any FSD updates in a while, and it still can't do certain things that, like, the Model Y can, for example. And that's likely because they focus all of their efforts on this sort of Model Y Robotaxi service launch. So it makes really no sense at this time to work on Tesla Semi FSD until there's a lot of them out in the world.
I had this vision of one day, once they had FSD on semis, buying one, outfitting it like an RV, and then it just could drive me anywhere. You know, I'd go to sleep in the back, wake up in New Orleans, go to sleep, wake up in Miami. So I don't know. It was a vision for one day. Maybe I'll move back to the US in like 10 years when they have it, and I'll outfit one, and that's how I'll travel.
By the way, this is off topic, but I'm just realizing that Tesla is close to missing a legal deadline because it hasn't yet announced their annual shareholder meeting. We've sort of been waiting in anticipation for them to file those the proxy statement, and they haven't yet. And there's sort of a lot of speculation of why they're waiting. So they're only a few days away from this sort of deadline. And so and just today, actually, a group of 27 major Tesla shareholders urged Tesla to set a date for the meeting. So curious to see what if Tesla sort of puts out a statement on why of the delay, but it is interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. Hopefully they are not missing deadlines. Kind of the last thing that we need right now, to be honest. There's enough noise in the Tesla world at the moment. Okay. Fun stuff. Covered a lot here. It's funny. That's a lie. It's a lie. Don't show that comment. I don't this is nonsense. Get that off the screen. I am entranced in every moment. We covered the America Party, the end of the $7,500 federal EV credit, what the big, beautiful bill passing means for EVs, Robotaxi updates, and more. Again, if you haven't checked it out yet, we have a second channel, Gigacast Clips. Go subscribe to that one. Make sure to subscribe to this one first. Omar, any other final comments for us here today?
I'm looking forward to earnings. I think they're going to have a lot of interesting stuff to share. New vehicles, an update on the Robotaxi service. The earnings themselves probably won't be that good, but yeah, we're just a couple weeks away now.
Yeah, we will have an earnings preview coming up in one of our next videos. Sawyer, anything else for you?
I guess I've seen a lot of comments ever since Elon announced his America Party that he's starting it, that Elon just needs to step down as Tesla CEO and all this and all that. And I'm like, whatever potential negative impact that Elon moving forward with the America Party might have on Tesla would not outweigh the negative impact that would happen if Elon were to step down as Tesla CEO. I don't think a lot of people don't understand how many people are invested in Tesla because Elon is CEO, because he's running the show. And so you would likely see a massive wipe of shareholder value overnight if Elon were to leave. So even though that, yes, stepping into politics might be bad here and there for Tesla, Elon leaving would be far worse. So I'd rather him stay as CEO. At the end of the day, he's still an incredible innovator and thinker and visionary, and that has not slowed down. So we want him at the helm. And if he's at the helm, we also get access to his other companies like SpaceX and like XAI. Like we're going to see the Grok 4 integration into Tesla's likely pretty soon. Like that stuff probably wouldn't happen if Elon wasn't running Tesla. So, yeah.
Yeah, I did see, because of the Linda Yaccarino step down, I was like, I wonder if there's any other markets on CEOs. And there is one up on, will Elon be CEO by the end of the year? And if you don't think he's going anywhere, it's 14% return. I was like, that's not bad for him not to go anywhere this year.
Elon might be the temporary CEO for X for a little while, but I don't think he wants to be CEO. I don't think he wants to run the day-to-day of X. That just sounds like shitty.
He just wants to be tweeting. That's the only portion of X that he wants. But yeah, I hope they get a product guy in there. Like you guys said, I think that it could definitely continue to come a long way. Really fun stuff here. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. Thank you to Evan for producing. Thank you, Lawrence, Alex, and Jacob for all the help on the back end with the editing, clipping, and distribution. We will be back next week, same time. We should have an upcoming episode covering everything that we expect to see on the earnings call and a lot more than that. So we'll see everybody on the next one. Take care. Keep rocking on out there.